I guarantee that every NFL fan knows the statement any given Sunday. Anything can happen from the last seeded team upsetting the top seed in the playoffs to an unexpected hero securing a win for their team. With this, let's go over the top 10 best NFL one-game wonders that led fans to question whatever happened to them. So at number 10, let's start this video off controversially by saying that Gabe Davis is a one-game wonder. Sure, he's had a couple of amazing games besides the infamous divisional round game like the 2022 game versus Steelers, but for the sake of this video, we're going to list him as a one-game wonder. We all remember his performance against the Chiefs, where he had 8 catches for 201 yards and 4 touchdowns. And this made everyone to believe that he was bound to break out that next season and that he'll finally be the second weapon that Josh Allen needs in this offense next to Diggs. An underwhelming 2022 campaign led to people to wonder if he'll ever break out, as he totaled 836 yards and 7 touchdowns in what was supposed to be his season to break out. 2023 made people question even more his future with the Bills as all of his metrics went down, his total yards and average yards per reception. While his numbers did go up from that 2021 season, he never became that breakout star Buffalo wanted, as they opted to let Davis walk in free agency this offseason. He has signed with Jacksonville since and is looking to bounce back his career with Trevor Lawrence and company. Now talk about showing up in the biggest game of your career, and even though it wasn't the result that Kony Ealy wanted, he left his mark on the game forever. At number 9, Kony Ealy was a rotational piece on the Panthers defensive line, never getting over 5 sacks in his career in a season. But in the Super Bowl 50, he had the game of his career. Ealy recorded 4 tackles in the game, 2 of them being for a loss, and 3 sacks, with 1 pass defended. He would have an amazing one-handed interception on Peyton Manning in the first half of the game, returning the ball 19 yards. Then early in the fourth quarter, Ealy would force a fumble on Peyton Manning, recovering the ball and getting it to the 50-yard line, and this helped to set up a field goal to make the game a one-score game in the fourth. Many expected a breakout from Ealy after this game, but saw the same level of play in his 2016 campaign, where he would eventually be traded and waived by the Patriots. Ealy would spend the rest of his career bouncing around teams' training camps, and after stints in the XFL and Canadian Football League, he hasn't appeared in the Professional Football League since 2022. But imagine if the Panthers would have won this game, because Ealy would have been in serious contention to win Super Bowl MVP. Now at number 8, this next player had a solid career throughout his NFL tenure, being in the NFL for 10 years, and his breakout game wasn't even until his 7th season in the league. However, in the 2017 season, Adrian Clayborn would break Atlanta's single-game sack record with 6 sacks and a 27-7 victory over the Cowboys. Clayborn, who has never had more than 7.5 sacks in a season in his NFL career, would lead the team with 8 sacks after this game at that point in the season, and was 1 short of breaking Derek Thomas's record of 7 sacks in 1 game. He would be named the NFC's Defensive Player of the Week and would sign a contract with the Patriots where he would win a Super Bowl that next season. That offseason though, he would be released and re-signed with the Falcons, where he didn't see much action, and he would end his career with the Browns and would be released and hasn't been in an NFL game since. At number 7, let's keep up this biggest game in your career trend and talk about another guy performed on the biggest stage. One of the more well-known names on this list, David Tyree, was primarily a special teamer early in his career, even getting a Pro Bowl nod as a special teams player in 2005. Going to the 2007 season, he never totaled more than 211 yards in a season. But in that 2007 season, his numbers were starting to drop. In 12 games, he was only targeted 5 times for 3 catches for 35 yards. And now, even though his stat line from this game isn't that eye-opening, the magnitude of the plays he made cannot be forgotten. He arguably made the greatest catch in the Super Bowl history. On a 3rd and 5, with 1 minute left in the game, down 4 points to the undefeated Patriots, Eli Manning evades multiple sack attempts and puts up an absolute prayer of a heave down the field to David Tyree, who catches the ball over 2 defenders on his helmet. We've all seen this catch. This would extend the Giants' drive and eventually set up Plaxico Burress' game-winning touchdown with 30 seconds left on the clock. Tyree would help to set up the greatest upset in Super Bowl history. So what happened to Tyree after this game? Sadly, Tyree would miss the next season due to a knee injury and didn't see NFL action after a short stint with the Ravens in the 2008 season. On the bright side, the helmet catch would be the last catch of his NFL career, which he dedicated to his late mother, who died of a heart attack that year they won a Super Bowl. Now at our number 6 spot, here's a true one-game wonder, and even though he's a well-known name in the NFL world, all throughout Jeff Janis' career, he was a rotational backup piece in the Packers receiving room. In the 2015 season especially, even though he played in every single game, Janis only totaled 2 catches for 79 yards, only getting 11 targets on the season. That was until the divisional round of the playoffs, where Janis almost solidified his legacy as a Packers playoff legend, if it wasn't for the heroics of Larry Fitzgerald. In a divisional round against the Cardinals, Janis would triple his catches in the season in 1 game, with 7 catches, and tie his season total targets with 11 this game, along with 2 touchdowns. This isn't even the most impressive part, as he was crucial in keeping the Packers in this game. In the same season that Rodgers would throw a game-winning Hail Mary against the Lions, With a minute left down in the divisional round, Rodgers would roll out for a 4th and 20 and find Jeff Janis open down the field for a 61-yard completion. Then 2 plays later, with 5 seconds left on the clock, needing 41 yards to tie the game, Rodgers rolls out and finds guess who? Jeff Janis again for the game-tying touchdown. Now, Janis, Rodgers, and company would not get a chance in overtime thanks to Larry Fitzgerald taking the ball all the way down the field and eventually scoring the game-winning touchdown. But who knows how these playoffs shape up if Rodgers and Janis get a chance to score in the postseason. Our number 5 spot is headlined by another New York Giant and rookie running back David Wilson in 2012. Wilson was a speedy first-round pick out of Virginia Tech for the Giants, where he had very minimal action his rookie season. That was until a Week 14 matchup against the New Orleans Saints, where Wilson would record a team record of 327 all-purpose yards in one singular game. Wilson got an, at the time, season high in carries, with 13 of them, where he would rush for 100 yards, averaging 7.7 yards per carry, with his longest rush of the game going for 52 yards. He would total 2 touchdowns on the ground as well. He would also total 227 return yards and a special teams touchdown, which seemed to be Wilson's breakout in the NFL. After this performance, he wouldn't have performances that came close to his Week 14 breakout, and after dealing with injuries in his sophomore campaign, he eventually was forced to retire in 2013 due to neck injuries. But who knows what would have happened if he could have been healthy his whole career. At number 4, I got a question. What's up with players having the best games in their career during the Super Bowl? The next player on our list is Chris Matthews, who would go undrafted and have stints in the Arena Football League and Canadian Football League, and eventually work as a security guard before receiving a phone call from the Seahawks asking him to try out that night in 2014. He would sign a future/reserves contract from the Seahawks where he'd play in 9 games, totaling 54 yards off 4 catches. However, in the biggest game of his career, Chris Matthews would tie his season total in catches with 4 of them, totaling 109 yards for 1 touchdown, being the first touchdown of his NFL career. His 109 yards tied the game high alongside the Patriots' Julian Edelman. The next season, he would be released by the Seahawks and signed by the Ravens and played for them in 2015 and 2017 before a final stint in the Canadian Football League. It's crazy that you can go from working a regular job and that night getting a call to go try out for your dream job. Congrats on a great career and a performance we'll never forget, Chris. Next up on our list at number 3 comes one of the more tragic stories. In 2006, the Browns drafted Jerome Harrison, a running back from Washington State, in the 5th round. With minimal production and usage and never getting over 40 carries in a season in his first 3 years in the league, he would get the chance of a lifetime. Harrison would break Jim Brown's single-game rushing record for a Browns running back, rushing for 286 yards in one game, with his longest being a 71-yard rush, along with 3 touchdowns to go along with his stat line. All seemed likely for Harrison to become the workhorse running back for Cleveland, with back-to-back 30-carry games to finish the season, where he would go over 100 yards in both games with a touchdown, ending his 2009 campaign on a high note. However, in 2010, Harrison would only appear in 4 games, where he would be traded mid-season to the Philadelphia Eagles, where he didn't get much action until the final game this season. He would sign with Detroit in the offseason, where he'd be eventually traded back to the Eagles. However, the trade was voided due to a failed physical by Harrison. It was tragically revealed that he failed his physical due to a brain tumor, and he was expected to be a quadriplegic. But due to hard work in his recovery, he has recovered and is walking today. An amazing story, and we hope that Harrison continues to do well and the best of his health. At number 2 is one of the funnier stories on this list, because Aaron Rodgers claims that he could be an offensive coordinator in the league. And honestly, I don't doubt his abilities, as he is one of the greatest offensive minds in our league. He tested this theory in the final game of the 2011 season, where he called plays for backup Matt Flynn at the end of the season. While Flynn claims that he audibled out of most plays that Rodgers called, it's a funny correlation that the best game of Flynn's career would come in this game. Not only did Flynn ball out, he tied the Packers' single-game franchise record for passing yards and touchdowns in a game, with 480 yards and 6 touchdowns en route to a 45-41 victory against the division rival Lions. This was hilarious, as Flynn was a backup his whole career, and this game helped Flynn signed a 3-year deal with the Seahawks that offseason, but he would lose his job to rookie Russell Wilson. He'd be traded to the Raiders that next season, where he would lose his starting job competition to Terrell Pryor, where he would be released later in the season and spend time with the Bills and another stint with the Packers, where he subbed in after an injury to Aaron Rodgers, his backup Seneca Wallace, and released Scott Toljan after a bad play. Wow, that's a lot of names. After stints with the Patriots, Jets, and Saints, he would not appear in a game since 2015. At least he can say that he calls plays better than Rodgers. Finally, to end off our list, the greatest one-game wonder known in NFL history is Jonas Gray, who went undrafted in the 2013 draft and was signed to the Patriots active roster. He was the only healthy running back available for the Patriots' long-awaited matchup against the Andrew Luck and the scorching hot Colts on a Sunday Night Football matchup. And in that game, not only did he perform, he rushed all over the Colts with 201 rushing yards and a Patriots record 4 touchdowns in his 4th NFL game ever. All seemed to be going well for the practice squad legend until he forgot to wake up for a morning walkthrough due to his phone being unplugged from the wall, which made him show up to practice an hour late. Coach Bill Belichick elected to go with freshly signed LeGarrette Blount instead of Gray, and Gray would find himself in the dog pound for the rest of the season. He would win a Super Bowl that season even though he wasn't active for that game, and he'd be released that offseason. And after stints with the Dolphins and Jaguars, Gray hasn't been in an NFL game since 2016. Still, this performance is one of the greatest unexpected NFL stories that we know to date. As we wrap up looking at the NFL's greatest one-game wonders, it's clear that these players for one day etched their names into gridiron history. Their performances remind us that anyone can step up to the plate. And if you enjoyed videos like this, make sure to subscribe to Football Today for more NFL uncovered stories, as only 0.2% of our viewers are actually subscribed to us. Thank you all for watching, and I have this question. Who will be the NFL's next one-game wonder this season?